Good evening. Thank you all for coming and welcome to It Runs in the Family with our amazing Erin Maho. I'm Nanette Shore, the Director of Development and Marketing for the Cameron K. Gallagher Memorial Foundation. Most of you know, but for those who do not, our foundation began when Cameron, who was 16 years old, died as she crossed the finish line at the Shamrock Half Marathon in Virginia Beach in March of 2014. Cameron died from an undetected heart issue, but her real struggle was with teenage mental illness. Cameron trained and ran the half marathon in an effort to achieve a personal goal she had set for herself. While training, Cameron began to realize that there was a way to speak up about teenage depression and help others do the same. She could not understand why there was such a stigma around this disease. The Speak Up 5K was born, and Cameron's planning began. Unfortunately, Cameron died before this dream became a reality. Just days after Cameron's death, her family found Cameron's entire plan for the race, including a speech she was going to give at the race, sponsor asks, she was taking my job, the location, the logo we use today, and much, much more. David, Grace, and their family immediately began working on fulfilling Cameron's dream. In my short time working at the foundation, I've had the honor of meeting so many wonderful people who have dealt with so many struggles, but have been able to give of themselves to make an otherwise unbearable situation into something so helpful and beneficial to others. Tonight, you will meet a few of those friends. David and Grace Gallagher have devoted themselves to improving their lives of teens, not only here in Richmond, but across the U.S. The focus and goal of our foundation is to help teens speak up and have the courage to talk about teenage mental illness. We aim to remove the stigma and help those teens grow and learn to live with this disease. We just had our second annual Speak Up 5K in Richmond last weekend and had inaugural races in San Diego and Boone this year, Boone, North Carolina. And we are also planning to expand next year to Tampa. While our races are our signature community event, our work going forward will also include support groups, getting programs into schools and youth groups, and really anywhere teens are. We are excited for the future of our organization and welcome anyone who wants to be a part and get involved in the Cameron Gallagher Memorial Foundation. After the show, you will have a chance to hear from Grace and David as they share a bit about their journey. Another amazing friend is our performer, Erin Maho. Erin has devoted herself to helping others understand and speak up about mental illness. She has empowered so many to raise their voice and speak up without shame. Erin, we are so proud of you, proud to be here with you tonight, and thank you for including the Cameron K. Gallagher Memorial Foundation in your efforts. Erin Maho is a wife, mother of 3, lifelong performing artist, director of the Cultural Arts and Jewish Education at the Weinstein JCC, a mental health advocate, and a proud neurotic. Those are her words. I didn't call her that. She drives herself crazy every day, but as she puts it, not nearly as crazy as she drives her husband. Erin, thank you so much for showing others it's okay to speak up and share their journey. I'd also like to thank the Weinstein JCC, Memories Videography, and the Children's Theater for their support in tonight's show. It is my privilege and honor to introduce Erin Maho's It Runs in the Family.
Have phone will travel. Hi, everybody. As soon as my gentlemen are ready, we will begin with a song, and then the real fun begins. That's my brother. I didn't know he was coming.
There's only us, there's only this. Forget There's only this we must let go to know what's right. No other road, no other way, no day but today. No day but today. No day but today.
No day but today.
No day but today.
No day but today.
No day but today.
Just because you're miserable doesn't mean you can't enjoy your life. Philadelphia, 1952, December. A 19-year-old girl gets into the cab of a 26-year-old, fair-haired, kind-faced veteran. What's your name? Marlene. What's yours? Lenny. But some people call me Roberto. Roberto? Why do they call you Roberto? Because I told them to. I like you. I want to take you out. You want to go out? Let's go out. So they went out. That night, he proposed. Because, life's short. And 6 weeks later, they went down to City Hall. But they almost didn't get married. You see, in a momentary lapse of reason, on that very first night, she told him that she was 23. Now remember, she was only 19. So she's sitting there and she's fretting and she's worrying and, we can feel each other's energy. And he looks over at her and he says, "Are you okay?" "I have a confession to make." "All right, what is it?" "I'm really 21. "Oh my gosh," she thinks in her head, "what is wrong with me?" "Okay, all right," he says, "all right, it's all right. Anything else?" "I'm really 19. "What? What do you mean you're 19? You're just a kid. I can't go through this. It ain't right. It ain't right." "It's all right. I'm the same person as I was 2 minutes ago. I'm the same as I was that day when I got in your cab, when you proposed to me on the very first night." So, needless to say, they got married. That man and that woman went on to have 4 children, one of whom was my father. Shortly after they got married, he began acting strangely. He was volatile and was having delusions. He was shortly diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and her family and his alike encouraged her to institutionalize him, put him away, pretend like it never happened, move on, get married again. He doesn't deserve to be put away like an animal, she would say. So they made it work. For 47 years, they took care of each other. Maizeda had a prolific career during his time as a schizophrenic. He was an astronaut. He was JFK's chauffeur during the assassination. He was frequently tracked by the KGB and other secret police organizations. He spent a short time as the Messiah. That was particularly exciting. And he used to communicate with God through the alignment of the stars and or the alignment of his cigarette butts in the ashtray. One time, when Maizeda was much older, he went to a doctor, a new doctor. This doctor's name was Dr. Bijou. Now, Dr. Bijou was Asian of some descent. Please remember that my grandfather was a World War II veteran. And so he went to Dr. Bijou, and the doctor came in to the room, and Zeta immediately saw him in his coat, and the name Bijou in his advanced age appeared to say Daiju in his mind. So needless to say, Zeta would not let this man touch him, come anywhere near him. He was not going to be seen by this gentleman on that day. My bubby, to explain, bubby and Zeta are the Yiddish terms for grandparents. For those of you who didn't know, who aren't aware, most people here probably do know that. Many of you have your own bubbies and Zetas, but I have mine. Bubby used to get so angry with Zeta when he would engage in his rituals like cigarette butt messages to the Lord. "Stop it, Lenny!" she would scream from across the room. It would reverberate. I'm not sure if literally like across the house. She couldn't see him. She wasn't in the same room with him. She had no idea what she was doing. So either she was warning him in advance or she was psychic. And I honestly could never figure out which one it was. We are obviously, I think it goes without saying that we were not a racist family. However, Maizeta's paranoia created enemies that weren't actually there. And so he often talked about his mistrust of Arabs and Jews and not Jews, he was Jewish, and Arabs and Japs. So politically correct in this wonderful world in which we live now. But that's how schizophrenia works. And it's really important for me to tell all of you and to tell the world that, we have to love the whole person. Grace Gallagher and I actually had this conversation very recently, that it's important to love the whole person. And so here tonight, I'm here to tell you about the funny things, because they're funny, and he thought they were funny, but also the wonderful, amazing, remarkable human being that he was, that my grandmother was, and it's really important that you know that. One time, my bubby told me that Zeta went to his mother, who was recently immigrated from Ukraine. She was Jewish, she was fearful, she was unwell much of the time, and had been run from her country for simply being who she was. So she was a fearful woman. And he told her what he was experiencing, and her response was, Shah, don't say these things. They will put you away. You're fine. don't tell anyone. And that is the reason that I'm here with you tonight. Because that cut me to my core. I cannot imagine going through the onset of any mental illness, but much less schizophrenia, without being able to tell a single person, for fear of being institutionalized, for fear of being put away, for fear of being marginalized. And so I have made it my mission to be his voice for as long as it takes, so that no one ever has to experience that ever again. Because, you know, in addition to the schizophrenia, he was an amazing man. He loved his family. He played games with his grandchildren. He sung us songs. He would sing, well, there's a song he would sing that I'll tell you about later, but he would sing other songs like You Are My Sunshine and Old Man River, and he could hit the low notes. He really could. He had a big booming voice and a gentle hand, and he would walk over to me and to all of his grandchildren as if blessing me. And he would say, "My Erin Payton, Shayna Maidala."
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be.
Now, when I was just a little girl, my bubby used to sing that song to me. Only, being the true comedian in the family, she had her own very special version. She would sing, "When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be handsome? Will I be rich? Or will I just be a son of a bitch?"
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. Now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will I be?
I don't say that. I lost my place in the song, ladies and gentlemen.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. What will be, will be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's so kind of all of you to be here. It's not in the least bit weird that I know almost every person in the room. Maybe we could turn the lights off on the audience. Unless you all want to look at me like this the whole night. Just kidding. So, what I remember most about growing up in my family is that they always managed to talk about the things that were happy and that were fun. They didn't talk about the hard times a lot. But it's not as if that things were a secret. I mean, we knew that Zeta was sick, and that when my dad and his siblings were younger, they lived through him experiencing the very scary forms of treatment from the 1950s and 60s, the electric shock therapy and the very scary medicines and multiple different hospital stays for months at a time. It wasn't a secret, but what they always seemed to talk about was all the fun that they used to have as a family. It was a small family, and they lived in a tiny house. But in the middle of the night, sometimes at 12:30 at night, they would all decide that everyone in the house needed a new bedroom, including my grandparents. So they would rearrange all the furniture in all the bedrooms, and then they would all have new rooms. Bubby was an amazing cook, and she always made sure that there was food for everyone. I remember a story that my dad brought his best friend over who proceeded to eat the entire family's dinner one night, an entire pot of spaghetti that he thought was just for him, but it was actually everyone's dinner. Or my dad and his friend used to build beer can structures in the kitchen. I don't know how old he was when he did that. I didn't ask, and he didn't offer that information. So my dad and his brother used to come home in the middle of the day and watch Young and the Restless with my bubby for lunch. And one time, my uncle decided it would be a good idea to bring the entire basketball team home for lunch in the middle of the day. And Bubby made them lunch. Everyone, and I had some very strange friends in high school, and still do, and some of them are here. I'll let you guys figure out who you are. Everyone was a member of the family. There was never a time when a person wasn't made to feel comfortable and at home. Everyone called her Bubby, even if she wasn't their Bubby. There were 12 cousins, me, my brother, who I'm sure loves me pointing him out in the middle of the show. Me, my brother and sister, and our 9 other cousins. And pretty much any weekend of the month, there was some configuration of us cousins at, oh, I see, you had the same thing in your life, yes. Some configuration of us cousins at at her house. And we would play games like Rummy Tile and Trivial Pursuit. Imagine playing Trivial Pursuit with a bunch of children. It's comical, to say the least. And penny poker. Zeta taught us how to gamble. And we would put on shows, which is actually where this all began, this pathological need to stand up in front of people I don't know and get their approval. That all started there. I would act as the family directator, and I would force all of my cousins to be in all of my musical reviews. Some of them still have scars from when I would try and curl their hair with the curling iron, and I still, 30 years later, haven't heard the end of that. They made everything fun. They would tell us stories about growing up in Philadelphia. Bubby would tell us normal stories about her family, about the songs she liked to sing. She would sing us, "You Are My Sunshine," and "Hey, You're Adorable." And, well, Zeta had a special song that he used to sing. And it was a song that I didn't actually know was a song. He would gather us all around, and he would take out his teeth, put them down on the table. And I always assumed that this song was an excuse for Zeta to take out his teeth, and that he made this song up. Have you ever heard of Flatfoot Flugie with the Floyd Joy? Okay, so they're laughing, but I'm still not sure they've heard of it. So he would sing this song. He would take out his teeth and put his finger in the air, and he'd go, "Flatfoot Flugie with the Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy, Floyd Joy." And everyone would laugh. And it was the greatest thing anyone had ever seen. So, in honor of Zeta, I took all 3 of my children one day and put them in front of the fireplace and had them hold up their hands, their one finger, and I was taking this picture, and I was going to honor Zeta. Well, I took the picture, and I sent it to my brother, who very quickly called me and said, "Do you know what that song is about?" And I said, "No, it's not a real song. Zeta made it up. It's a bunch of flibber-flabber words." He said, "Look it up." So I was like, "Okay, goodbye." And I went, Ariana and Lainey, this is my daughter and her friend. You have to cover your ears. So I go online, which is, the arbiter of all the information in the world, and I look up the Flatfoot Floogie with the Floyd Joy, and it turns out it's a real song. That song is about a prostitute with untreated syphilis. I never said he was a good influence. He was real funny. He used to tell us stories about his years, his childhood, growing up in the streets of Philadelphia. I think that's a song, actually. He grew up in the alleys. He shot craps with his friends, Farty George and Freddie Two Legs, who, miraculously, could drive a car and outrun the police, even though he didn't have any legs. I don't know how that's possible, but it was magic. Zeta's entire life was magic. So every year on New Year's Eve, we would go, again, some group configuration of all of the cousins, we would find ourselves at Bubby and Zeta's house. And we would eat food like crushed up pretzels and Breyer's chocolate ice cream. Right? I know. And pretzels and mustard. And homemade chocolate sodas. If you want the recipe later, I can give it to you. And baked spaghetti with American cheese on top. Let's have a collective, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. And then go home and try it because it's amazing. It's amazing. And I haven't eaten dairy in 7 years, and it's one of those things that I dream about. It's amazing. So we would watch Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve along with everyone else in America in the 80s. And the last 5 minutes would come, and Bubby would make everybody gather in the family room, and she would run into the kitchen. And she would get every pot, pan, lid, wooden spoon that she could possibly find, and she would bring it all into the family room, and she would distribute them to all of the children. So then we would find ourselves in front of the television in the countdown, and we would all have to stand there, and we would all count. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Come on, guys. 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Bang, 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 bang. But that wasn't enough. I need this. Then she'd walk to the back door and she'd open the door and she'd send us all outside on Patterson Avenue and make us run around screaming and yelling, banging pots, and welcoming in the new year. Because Bubby made everything special. They taught me so much. They taught me what it truly means to love each other, what it means to make the most of a terrible situation. They taught me the art of compassion and humility. And most of all, they taught me how to smile through life's shittiest situations.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your tears and sorrow. Smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Oh, though a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Oh, though a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Thank you. Matt Nagy, ladies and gentlemen, on the piano. So, before I move on, I just want to say thank you. I need some water. I want to say thank you to Nanette and to the Gallaghers and to the Gallagher Foundation and to every single one of you here and to every single one of these amazing mensches behind me, because they are incredible people, and I will introduce them all to you later, but I had a moment and I was moved to very much to say thank you. So, when my bubby was 65 years old, a tiny cut to the toe resulted in the loss of an entire leg above the knee. After years of ill health, a tiny, tiny, minuscule cut had such a huge impact. We weren't sure if she was going to make it. We sat vigil for about 3 months at MCV Hospital, waiting for her to wake up, waiting to know if she was going to stay with us. Miraculously, she did. She got a wheelchair. She figured out how to manage her brand new life. And she made so much enormous progress. And she became all of our heroes. She could cook for herself. She even drove a few times. No one was supposed to know that she did that, but she did it. And And so as a result of the enormous amount of time that Bubby spent in hospitals, we all spent enormous amounts of time at St. Mary's Hospital. So much so that we renamed it St. Marlene's. So my husband now, he's not my husband, he was not my husband at the time, had not been blessed with a childhood spent in a hospital. So see how I spun that, right? So he didn't really know how to act when he was inside of a hospital, So we were newly engaged, and I got a phone call, said Bubby's in the hospital again. So I came back from work that day, and I got home, and I called him, and I said, hey, let's go up to the hospital and see Bubby. She's at St. Mary's again. What's wrong? I don't know. She's there. That's all you need to know. So my husband, for those of you who don't know him, is a tad irreverent. He is a gentleman who has perfected the skill of not getting punched in the face. So he can say the things that no one else can say. And yet, on that day, he walked into the hospital as if he were 7 years old. Hands by his side, very silent, very reverent, very quiet, very, I don't know what to do in this situation, so I'm just going to keep my head down and keep going, and okay. And so we walk into Bubby's room, and she's laying there in her bed, and she's got her eyes closed. This is what it looks like for those of you over there. And she's looking up at the television is on above her. And we walk in the room very quietly, and you never knew what to expect. And I walked over, and I kissed her on her cheek, the softest skin you've ever seen in your entire life. And I said, hi, Bubs. And she opened her eyes. She said, hello, darling. And then Keith walked over, and he put his hand on her arm, and he said, hi, how you doing? And she looked at him, and she went, well, the doctor says I'm on my last leg. So you can see where I get my sense of humor from. She could have spent a lot of time bummed out. And I'm not naive enough to think that she didn't spend a whole lot of time bummed out. But she made her life better by finding the funny, by making the most of every single situation. So, you would think that being, afflicted seems like kind of a big word, but impacted by mental health on one side of my family would be enough. But no. You see, I have the good fortune of being affected on both sides. A mother's love is a strange and wondrous thing. It's not until you are a mother that you understand the lengths to which a mother will go to make sure her children have what they need. Remember that. I forced her to come tonight. So, when I was 22 years old, I decided that it was time for me to pack up my stuff and go to New York City to fulfill my lifelong dream of becoming a full-time bartender and part-time performing artist, because we know how that works. So But, you know, at the moment, at the time, I was a little flaky. Some may say I still am. Lisa Looney, keep your mouth shut. And so I didn't so much have a plan. I made a phone call. I said, hey, I need a job. Somebody had one. They said, okay, come. It's good. I packed up my little Dodge Daytona with a duffel bag and my makeup and a few pairs of shoes and a Papasan chair cushion, because you never know. And I was on my way. Immediately, I had a whole new life. My friend let me sleep on her floor, on the Papasan chair cushion, in a circle for a month, and all was well. So I very quickly as I possibly could, I got an apartment. And I called my parents, and I said, I got an apartment. I need to get all of my stuff because I can't live out of a Dodge Daytona. So they were like, hell yes. We want your stuff out of our house. Let's do this thing. So they packed up their car. They got a U-Haul. They packed everything up in grocery bags, which was so loving. And that was so ungrateful of me. That's my father. So just so you know, the whole family's here, and I've got all of their permission. So they pack up the U-Haul. They come up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. They get there at noon. They unload all my stuff. They shove some pizza in their mouths, and they get on the road, and they come home. And so I go about my business. I go in my room. I unpack my stuff. I have my day. I get up the next morning, and I go to work. I come home that evening, and there is a note on the chalkboard that is above the telephone in all capital letters. Erin, call your mother! Exclamation point. I think someone died. Period. But she didn't know my mother. No one had died. My mother answers the phone as if she is on fire. Hello? Oh my God, are you okay? Yeah, why? So I knew everything was fine. Everything. So I went about my business. I unpacked more of my stuff. And, you know, later in the evening, I called her back. Well, there actually was something wrong. Hi, Mom. Erin! Yes, Mom. I realized when I got home last night that I had bought you an entire cooler filled with produce that I forgot to bring to you yesterday. Okay. We have produce here. Right? You know, but I bought this for you. Okay. Well, Mom, I mean, I got like Whole Foods. It's all good. No. Okay. This is for you. So here's what we're gonna do. I swear to you that this is what my mother sounds like. Okay, Mom. Your stepfather has a client in Richmond from Italy. She's leaving Richmond tomorrow. She has a layover at LaGuardia. And she said that she would bring the cooler with her. And you go to LaGuardia and pick it up. Okay, Mom. So let me get this straight. You would like me to travel what is sure to be an hour and a half to LaGuardia Airport to pick up a cooler full of produce that's been sitting in your kitchen for 2 days rotting when I have a Whole Foods down the block. Uh-huh! No. Okay. Mom, really, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I'll go get myself some produce. No worries. Mom. I have to go. I love you, Mom. Bye. Oh my God, my mother is completely insane. I stood there in the moment, knowing years and years, 16 years ago from this moment, and I knew this would be something that I would tell people for years. But there's a little twist. Now, I mean, I know I wasn't a mother yet, so I give her the benefit of the doubt. And my mother's, neuroses is really one of her most charming qualities. So we will let her get away with it. But my mother also has bipolar disorder. So she lives in a world of extremes. And that is how I grew up. So I wasn't being callous when I heard that she had called. I was simply prepared. I had spent my entire life being prepared. I grew up in the 80s with pop psychology buzzwords like old tapes and toxic people. My mother named all of her cars Betsy. All of them. Not Betsy 1, 2, 3, just Betsy. They were all the same. She anthropomorphized all of our pets. Don't pick up the cat. You're crashing his boundaries. So not only do I have to worry about the people in my life, I also have to worry about crashing the cat's boundaries. The dog and I have a fundamental personality conflict. We just can't seem to get on the same page. Have you ever had a personality conflict with a dog? No, you haven't. But no matter what, I think of it as a positive thing. I mean, in business, in life, I have this remarkable ability to walk into any situation and know what's happening. Who do I need to watch? Who am I going to meet? And which version of themselves are they going to be at that given moment? Because when I woke up every morning, I didn't know which mom I was going to meet. Was I going to meet the mom who was wonderful and spiritual and wise? Was I going to meet the mom who encouraged me to be a strong, independent woman? Or was I going to meet the mom who didn't come out of her bedroom for a year? But no matter what, she worked really hard to raise us. And she loved us. And we would laugh. And we would tell stories. And we would have a lot of fun together. My mother says when she's off her meds, usually, I just want peace. And my response to that is that peace is a choice. Life is hard. And some days, it's all we can do not to drink ourselves to death. Mom and I are making our way through this life together. We are each other's greatest champions. The last time I did this show, she was in the front row. And she laughed the hardest. And she was the most proud of me being here and sharing these stories. And we are figuring it all out. I am realistic, and I am hopeful in her ability to rebound. But I remain vigilant and realistic.
Sunny gets blue, her eyes get gray and cloudy, then the rain begins to fall. Pitter patter, love has gone, so what can matter? No sweet loving man comes to call. When Sunny gets blue, she breathes a sigh of sadness, like the wind that stirs the trees. Wind that sets the leaves to swaying, like some violins are playing weird and haunting melodies. People used to laugh to hear her laugh, see her smile. That's how she got her name. Since that sad affair, she's lost her smile, changed her style. Somehow, she's not the same. Memories will fade, and pretty dreams will rise up where the other dreams fell through. Hurry, new love, hurry here to kiss away each lonely tear and hold her near when Sunny gets blue.
My mother has the greatest laugh. When she's in the hole, which is how we affectionately refer to her depression, she doesn't laugh. I have a Pavlovian response to her laughter because at its greatest depth, it is my deepest comfort. Because I know that when Mom is laughing, everything is okay, even if just for today.
Memories will fade, and pretty dreams will rise up where the other dreams fell through. Hurry, new love, hurry here to kiss away each lonely tear and hold her near when Sunny gets blue. Hold her near when Sunny gets blue.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, and then of course there's me. You didn't think that I would get out of this thing unfazed, did you? My issues, my struggles are minuscule in comparison to others, in comparison to my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother. But I struggle just the same. And I thought it was really important to tell you that I struggle because I think everybody struggles. And so I can't march them all out here and tell all their dirty laundry without also sharing some of my own. And so I will say that my childhood was somewhat unsettled. It was nobody's fault, really. My parents came from very different backgrounds. My mother was a white-bread Southern Baptist daughter of a state trooper who converted to Judaism when my parents got married. And my father was a first-generation American whose father was schizophrenic. So I can't imagine how they couldn't make it work. Their generation was made available some previously unmodeled choices, we'll just say that. Theirs was the first generation to take advantage of divorce, and my parents took advantage of it considerably. It all worked out okay, but no matter what, I was loved beyond anything that any one single person, and remain loved beyond anything any one single person can possibly expect to be loved. But I was a weirdo. You know, even though I am a member of this family, and my issues really are small in comparison. Children know that when their parents are unhappy or struggling, and it makes them feel unsettled, and it makes you feel lonely. And no matter what, I would not want any other people to be my people. But that's my reality. I also have to share with you the sad, unfortunate truth that I was a weird, ugly child. They say no, but they're wrong. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hi, Erin. Hey, we're fine. Thanks for asking.
I've missed seeing you. I need to show an example of what the 80s looks like. Thank you. I did not wear these things ironically. I bought these things in Claire's boutique today. And yet, these are the exact same things I wore when I was 10. I had enormous glasses and crooked teeth. And Bubby hated my fashion sense. I used to wear things like my Zeta's pajamas to school. Oh my God, that was a battle. That was a battle that you could not possibly understand. She threatened to disown me because I wore my Zeta's pajamas to school. She was furious at me. My fashion sense I like to describe as as if a Punky Brewster and Steve Urkel had a love child. And the only people in this room who don't know who those people are my daughter and her friend, and they'll go look it up later. So I had ADD, but nobody diagnosed that in girls then. So I was the perpetual, if only she'd apply herself, child. I spent hours in my bedroom all weekend long writing stories and songs and creating worlds and living entirely inside of my own head. Kids ignored me. I'm not sure if it's because I used strange Yiddish references or if it's because of all the time that I spent with Bubby and Zeta, I was kind of like a tiny grandparent. So I watched soap operas and black and white movies, and I listened to Mario Lanza and Frank Sinatra, and I went to the theater. And of course, I watched Dan Rather every night at 6 p.m. I had an encyclopedic knowledge of the TV Guide. Can you imagine a 10-year-old who would have had anything to talk to me about? Nothing. Bobby and I used to watch Wheel of Fortune together, even when we weren't together. She would call me and she would say, Erin, I got the puzzle in 4 letters. Can you believe it? And then we would watch the rest of the show together. I got glasses when I was 7. By 5th grade, I towered over almost everyone. A few years ago, we were going through some old home videos that my father had taken, and we found the one about from my 5th grade chorus concert. So there I was, up in the back on the risers and strategically placed between the Lurch twins. And they were twins, and they were 9 feet tall at 10 years old. I was wearing all of my mother's clothes because I was an adult size 8 at 10 years old. My giant glasses, my hair was done in some sort of 80s configuration. I was wearing a brooch. Don't know why. And I came down and I stood at the center and I sang my song. And I sang like an angel. I looked like an alien. But I sang like an angel, so they let me live. And then at the end, I had to go back over because, you can't like walk through the center of the risers. So I had to go stand at the end. So I'm standing at the end of the risers, and the little boy to my right came up to my elbow. My elbow. Now, that boy was small for his age, but I was a giant. I was a ginormous, ugly child. I had braces. Stop arguing with me. You know it's true. Thank God she has hair and teeth, and she can function in the world today. With a lot of help. So, my braces and my bad hair. Now, my bad hair, I always had a bad haircut. Did anybody see that video that I put up on Facebook with the What a Wonderful World? Some of you did. So that was like a series of school pictures of myself with the wings and the hair and the curlers that didn't go quite right. So there were like little things sticking out all over the place. I really wanted you all to see that it was true. And my family are liars. They are liars. I did everything I could possibly do to help Mother Nature with what she had already given me, and I fell down all the time. In fact, until about a year ago, I still fell down all the time. But I've always had pretty debilitating anxiety, which made childhood so much more fun since I was also hideously ugly and weird and awkward and fell down all the time and spoke Yiddish to people. So that was fun. Stay away from her. So in my life, the pendulum has always swung. And I think really it's like, you start out in life and you don't know what the heck you're doing. And so you do things one way and then you get older and you figure it out. So when I was younger, the pendulum swung to the extreme of complete apathy. I am fine, and nothing matters, and everything is I'm too important. I can't be bothered with that. So then, the pendulum has swung to the other direction. And that has presented me with the beautiful gift of paralyzing perfectionism. Do I have any paralyzed perfectionists in the room? There's got to be at least 2. So last year, I was listening to Fresh Air, Terry Gross. Any fans? Anybody listen? We all know. Some of us, a few of us know. So anyway, she was interviewing Sheldon Harnick, who is the other half of the Harnick and Bach songwriting team who wrote Fiddler on the Roof and many other things. And last year, Sheldon Harnick released a CD of a bunch of obscure songs. It was called Hidden Treasures. And so on this interview, they played this song. And this song was a man and a woman. They're young. He's, very debonair and suave and doesn't care about anything. And she's me, super neurotic. And I heard this song, and I thought to myself, that's not two people. That's the duality that exists in the brain of a person who suffers from anxiety. So you have no idea what it took to get this song done tonight. I emailed Sheldon Harnick because the music does not exist for this song. And he responded back to me. And that was the coolest thing ever. Okay? And he said, I'm really sorry. There's nothing I can do to help you. But I'm really moved, and I'm really, really sorry, truly, honestly, that I can't. I told him everything that we were doing tonight. So I found a person who fell from the sky, who didn't want me to talk about him, but I'm going to because he's amazing. And Matt fell from the sky, and he transposed this entire song from beginning to end so that I could do this here tonight. And so we're going to do it for you now. Okay, Matt, here we go.
I worry about religion. I worry about my fate. I worry about my parents. I worry about my weight. I worry about my posture. I worry about my tact. Whenever I meet new people, I worry. In fact, there are so many things I would like to try that I'll never try. I'm afraid to try, for what if I should fail? Or what if someone laughed? Oh, I think that I would die. I worry about the future. I worry about the past. I worry about the present. It's lovely, but will it last? I worry about most everything. And as the final touch, I worry that maybe I worry too much. And this is the other side. If something seems worth trying, then try it. If something seems worth doing, just do it. Go to it. A wee baby bird is a laughable sight as he tries and he fails at his very first flight. We watch and we laugh, you and I. And while we are laughing, he is learning to fly. So if something seems worth trying, then try it. If something seems worth doing, just do it. Go to it. No matter how badly or goodly it's done, the doing and trying can be great fun. So how can you ever know that if you never try? Thank you.
So, in the world of worry that exists within my very, very, very busy brain, I tend to go overboard sometimes in my attempt to be perfect, in my attempt to be everything to everyone all the time, in my attempt to always look like I've got it together. So, a number of years ago, I was working for a local mental health organization. Already people are laughing. Don't give it away, Sue. And so this place was filled with very experienced, very highly educated, very fabulous people. They not only were they exceptional at their jobs, they were incredibly good looking, and they all dressed magnificently. And so I felt immediately intimidated upon entering into this work environment. And my job was community resource coordination and statewide advocacy for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And so I took my job very, very, very seriously. And the General Assembly was coming up, and I was in charge of training a whole bunch of people to be able to speak in front of the Finance Committee, requesting additional services for... I just pointed you out. Yes. Never mind. I'll tell you later. It was like super stress. So, of course, in order to manage the stress, I went out and bought myself a bunch of new clothes, because that's what people do, right? And so there was this big training meeting coming up, and on the day of the meeting, I wanted to wear some of these new clothes that I bought. I had to look good. People had to have faith in me, because I had zero faith in myself at the moment. So I woke up and I had this fabulous pair of slacks that just made my butt look really small, and this beautiful blouse with this wonderful print on it. And I had, at the time, 2 very small children. And you know what happens when you have kids, and maybe this didn't happen to you, but it totally happened to me. I sort of ended up in this hole of like motherhood, where I didn't think about certain things like undergarments for a while. And it wasn't until this day, when I went to put on these clothes, that I realized I did not have a bra that was appropriate for this shirt. So you could like see the designs in the bra. And so I was kind of freaking out. So I found this one bra that was like super old, and I had had some understandable weight fluctuations from breastfeeding 2 children, the whole thing. I'm sorry, but this is what it is. So I put the bra on, and it didn't really fit me the way that I wanted it to fit me, and I was so desperate to be perfect this day that I was brainstorming, and I was thinking to myself, all right, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And so I stop myself, and I run down the stairs to the laundry room, and I acquire the giant toolbox. I bet you were wondering why there was a roll of duct tape up here on this table, huh? So my husband was in the kitchen, and he all of a sudden heard that. So, needless to say, I won't go into too much detail, but I just made the bra work. I just did what I had to do, people, to get through the day. And let me tell you something. The girls were looking good. So, I go to work. I spend my whole day there, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking good, and these people do not know what is happening underneath my shirt. And so I go through the entire day, and when it's time for the big meeting, I acquire all of my papers and all of my supplies and all of the food and all of the stuff that we're going to need, and I get a cart. And I put all the things on the cart, but there's not enough room on the cart for all the things. So I pick up the things, and I hold them in front of us. Oh, Lord, these people are getting ahead of me. Do not get ahead of me. So I put the things in front of me, and I'm pulling my cart, and I get in the elevator, and I've got two lovely coworkers standing on the elevator with me. And we're talking about the day and all the things that we're getting ready to do. And all of a sudden, one of those young women gets a very strange look on her face. And then she says, in a voice that to this day I think was extremely loud, "Oh my God, do you have duct tape on your boobs?" The rest of it is kind of veiled in a in a shroud of humiliation that may last forever and ever and ever. But I quickly buttoned up my shirt and made a joke about needing to go to Victoria's Secret or whatever. And she said, "You know, that brings new meaning to the term holding it all together with duct tape." But we went through the meeting, and I did a really great job. And I proved myself to myself most of all. And my colleagues thought that, I didn't suck. And a few weeks later, it was my 30th birthday. And all of this whole department would do something, fun for someone's big birthday, like 30, 40, whatever. So on the morning of my 30th birthday, I walked into my office, and the entire thing was covered in duct tape. Floor to ceiling. My desk had a package of a thing called automatic facelift. And she said, if I really wish I could have changed it to boob lift, but it wouldn't have shown up. So that's like a super humiliating story. So why in the hell would I share it with 100 people sitting here staring at me, some of whom I have to work with? Because we're not perfect. And we have this sort of stigma wrapped around perfection. And we all feel like we have to be perfect all the time. And the one time that I tried, like, irrationally to be perfect, I ended up completely humiliating myself and showing my vulnerability all at once. And I did, however, pay a visit to Victoria's Secret very shortly after that, in case you were wondering.
So no point in keeping on, 'cause all I'd gathered it had gone. That included you. You gotta learn to make your own rainbows, 'cause it's never gonna rain when you want it to. Reflection of the sun cannot be counted on. The rainbows are mostly up to you. Life sure has a funny way of twisting up a path that's straight, of getting you high before you fall. Lets you think that you figured it out, and just when you released your doubt, reminds you that you're small. I've learned you gotta make your own rainbows, 'cause it's never gonna rain when you want it to. The refraction of the sun cannot be counted on. The rainbows are mostly up to you. So when you find yourself on a cloudy day and all your hope seems to be so far away, just put a rainbow in your smile. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, we're like halfway through this sucker. How y'all doing? We having fun?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you guys are having fun. That would be really unfortunate if you weren't. Guilt. What a gift, right? Passed down from generation, from grandmother to mother to you. We send our children out into the world. They return to us with horror stories that we, in turn, make entirely about ourselves. Once upon a time, when I was having a panic attack, my mother responded to me in a super supportive tone. Erin, I am sorry that your father and I did not instill with you the skills to cope with your life better. Me too. Or the time when a family member who will not be named and is not in this room to protect their ignorance said to me, you know, you should consider becoming a rabbi. They aren't very goal-oriented either. I don't talk to her anymore. Once upon a time, when I was having dinner with my father's extended family, and Bubby was sitting at the head of the table and chastising everyone in the room for not visiting her enough, because that is her responsibility as a Jewish mother/grandmother to do that as often as possible. So we were sitting at the table and we were all eating dinner, and everyone was talking, and she looked at me and she says, you know, you don't visit me enough. And I said, well, you know, Bubby, I'm busy and you live so far away. And she said, I don't live as far away as I will when I'm dead. Which is true. As a mother and a wife and a professional person and an artist and all the things, and a super anxious person, I never ever feel as if I'm doing enough. My consequences aren't consequential enough. The children aren't eating enough vegetables. I'm not giving enough to my temple. I'm not giving enough at work. I'm not giving enough to my husband, especially my poor husband. Where is he? He may have left. But I spent many years generally hysterical. And I am still hysterical. Only these days, I'm hysterical in much more entertaining ways. Like on the day of an event at work, I walk through the halls singing. Lisa always says, we know when there's an event because Erin's walking through the halls singing. Not because she's excited, but because she's a nervous wreck. It's better than screaming at people. It took me a really long time to realize that I was not required to white-knuckle my way through my life. That I didn't have to feel this way every second. You know, I had a boss once who I guess noticed, because it's not hard to miss, that I put a lot of pressure on myself. She called me into her office one day and she says, you know, Erin, you don't have to prove your right to exist on this planet like every second of the day. You could maybe take a day off. Took a whole lot of those conversations, and it still takes a whole lot of those conversations, but I also found a brand new friend. Maybe you've heard of this friend. This friend's name is Lexapro. I take Lexapro for generalized anxiety disorder, which very simply just helped me get out of my own way. In a mellow town, feeling fancy free, and I'm not alone. I've got company, everything's okay. The livelong day with this mellow song. No, I can't go wrong in a mellow tone. That's the way to live. If you mope and groan, something's gotta give. Just go your way and laugh and play. There's joy unknown in a mellow tone. In a mellow tone, feeling fancy free, and I'm not alone. I've got company. Everything's okay. The livelong day with this mellow song. I can't go wrong. In a mellow tone. Woohoo! Thank you. So before I move on, I would like to take a moment to introduce my wonderful band. So from stage left to stage right, the incomparable Louis Schwartz, Chaz Hibbler, Ken Kellner, and Matt Nagy, who you've already met. Let me tell you something. I mean, I'm going to make you wait for what I was going to say, but so I really, really, really am uncomfortable asking people to help me, asking people to do things for me, asking people to put themselves out. It's really hard for me to do this. And so when I ask people to do it, I try to make it as easy as possible. At every turn, these people have said, we got you. We got you covered. You don't have to worry. No matter what it was, no matter what I asked them to do, no matter how ridiculous it was, they did it. And it has taught me an invaluable lesson. So the first time I did this show, I did it for my grandparents, and I did it for the audience, and I did it for external sources. And this time, I learned so much more about people and about how people come together and about what people do for one another with very little to be gained in return. And so I just thought it was really important to say that because they're amazing
And Lewis sent me an email today about bringing me a mic stand, and I literally burst into tears in the middle of Starbucks. So I'm not sure what that says about me.
Really weird.
That's really weird. Exactly. I think maybe you knew that about me. So when I was 16 years old, I really, really struggled with anxiety. And I had a really hard time. And my way of dealing with my anxiety back then was that sort of apathy, was that sort of, I'm cool, everything's fine, I can handle it. And so when I was afraid of something, I would either run screaming from it, or I would just sort of recklessly punch it in the face. So on one of those punch it in the face moments, 4:30 in the afternoon on November 1st, 1994, Bubby's birthday, I decided it would be a good idea to sit on my friend's car in the school parking lot. And she took off. And I fell off of the car and ended up underneath it. I broke my pelvis in 5 places. I spent 30 minutes under the car. I spent a good amount of time in a medevac helicopter being shuttled to MCV. I spent a week in the hospital. I spent 2 months in a bed in the family room of our house. And I spent 6 weeks in a wheelchair. They weren't sure if I would be able to have children. I have 3, so that worked out. I mean, maybe you should ask them in 10 years if that worked out. I'm not really sure. You know, after this, I know karma's a you-know-what. So a couple of years ago, I was asked to write a blog for a local women's blogger. And she said, you know, just take your personal experience and turn it into something that you'd like other people to know about. Like, all right, I'm good at talking. I can do that. So I wrote what has vacillated between a top 10, a top 9, a top 11, who knows what it'll be today, list called Lessons Learned While Trapped Under a Car. Because if you can't laugh, then number 1, don't end up under a car. I think maybe that's a given. Be grateful you are not under the tires. In other words, it can always be worse. Don't freak out. That does not make things better. Accept help as if you had a choice. Take responsibility for finding yourself in this situation. Do whatever it takes not to find yourself here ever again. If you can make it through this, you can make it through anything. Things will be different after this. You will be different. You get to decide how you react. And finally, don't use this as an excuse to be afraid. Life is a series of terrifying choices, and sometimes you end up under the car. Most of the time, you don't. You don't always end up where you thought you would, but you always end up exactly where you're supposed to be. Life is a journey. Take a deep breath and keep moving forward.
Go out and tell the story. Let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear of how justice was our battle line, how justice was denied. Make them hear you. child to raise his voice, and then my brothers then. Will justice be demanded by 10 million righteous men? Make them hear you when they hear you. I'll be near you again.
I did that song for Cameron Gallagher. Of course, I can make it through the whole story, the whole night. Can't make it through that without tearing up. I did that for Cameron. The mental health system has improved immensely since my Zeta went through it in the 1950s. But we've got a long way to go. And when I think about who I was at 16 years old, falling off of a car and getting run over and being a total moron, and then I think about the person that Cameron was, we have so much of a responsibility to help fulfill her legacy. And I could not be more grateful to be here with all of you tonight, with her parents and grandparents in the audience, letting me do that. So now I'm going to compose myself. Thank you. According to Jewish law, when a person undergoes an amputation, their amputated limb has to be buried. So when my bubby lost her leg, the arrangements were made. And do I have mascara all over my face? Because I am nothing if not vain. The arrangements were made, and her leg was buried in the plot that was purchased for she and Zeta. So, just over a year later, after a whirlwind battle with cancer, my Zeta passed away in May of 2000. And he fell one day, and he was in a coma for a week, and we had no idea if he was going to wake up. And one day he woke up, and he looked at my father, and he said, "Bring me a sandwich." But the damage was done. Years of smoking, years of ill health had taken its toll. And within a month, he had passed away. After 47 years together, Bubby was now alone. We went to the funeral and to the burial, and I drove her that day. And we did everything that we needed to do, and we went back to the car at the end. We were waiting for everybody to leave, and she was sitting next to me in the passenger seat, and she was silent, which was very rare. And we were just sitting there next to each other for a really long time. And then all of a sudden I heard, "You know, it gives me great comfort to know that for all eternity, my foot's going to be in his ass." You knew it. I know. Thank you for going with me there anyway. I appreciate it. It's so nice. So, we've reached the end of the show, you guys. And all I will say to you is just a very quick reminder, and then we have one more song. Everyone has a value. everyone struggles with something. My grandfather sang songs, and he played Simon Says with me and my friends when none of the other grown-ups wanted to. Sorry, Dad. He told stories, and he took his teeth out, and he hugged us, and he kissed us, and he told us that he loved us. My mother is one of the bravest, most persistent people I know. Infuriating, terrifying, brave, and persistent. And when we can remember in our daily lives that everybody has value and everyone's life has meaning, then true change can come to our mental health system and maybe even to our world. So I end every single show, no matter what it is, with this song, because it is the most hopeful thing that I can think to send you back out into the world with. You know it, and I hope that you will sing along.
I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day and the warm, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry and oh, watch them grow. They'll know much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, babies cry and watch them grow. They'll know much more than I ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We should do a swinging blues in B flat.
Thank you.
B flat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, once again, I want to thank the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation and the Speak Up 5K for being here, all of your supporters. So many of you came out tonight. I want to thank Virginia Repertory Theater for the use of their space. They are a wonderful community partner, and I hope that you will make this a regular part of your theater-going experiences. And we thought that it might be a good idea, since we did this event for the foundation and the Speak Up 5K, to have Cameron's mom and dad, David and Grace Gallagher, come on up and answer some questions, tell us a little bit about what they're doing, and we are so happy to welcome you up. Please give them a round of applause.
Wow. Erin, you are really something. I just can't believe how talented you are. You sing, you're beautiful. I can't believe you looked like that when you were 10 years old. I just don't believe it at all. You know, a lot of the, she did, I know. We all did, I know that. I have to put this on here because I can't hold and talk at the same time. So just bear with me. We won't keep you very long. Special thanks to Nanette, who joined our organization. We've known Nanette for many, many years and has come into our family. It would be the equivalent of bringing a fighter F-16 into this very theater and turning it on and making it fly around. That's the effect of Nanette in our organization. It's phenomenal, and she brings these wonderful creative ideas, and she has brought us Erin Maho. And 4 or 5 months ago, or maybe 3, Nanette came to us and said, I'll tell you a little bit how we met Erin. She said, I've got this idea. We've got this friend, and we've got this very talented person we know, and she wants to do a comedy kind of Broadway thing about mental health. It's called It Runs in the Family. It's all about how the effect of mental health can affect family. And Grace and I said, that's brilliant. That's what we stand for. That's what we are. Those are the things that matter to us. And as we began planning this event and we began talking about it in conjunction, we were planning our Speak Up 5K, which, as you all know, was this past Saturday. Everybody kept coming up to us saying, oh my gosh, Erin's going to do something for you guys. You are so lucky. She's so talented. This is really an amazing soul. And I had not yet met Erin. And I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet this wonderful person. She sounds really cool. I mean, she's funny. She can sing. I can hear all these things about her. The first time I met Erin was this Saturday morning at our Speak Up 5K. It was 7:45 in the morning. It was pouring down rain. We had 5,000 people in Bird Park. I had a megaphone, walkie-talkie, cell phones. I had a hip belt full of screwdriver things trying to get signs up. And I go over to Erin and I said, "You're Erin." She says, "Yep, David." She gives me a big hug and I said, "You have to sing this national anthem no matter what. It is going on at 9 a.m. Are we clear?" And she said, "You have my word, it'll happen." Well, let me tell you what. If you were there, something very magical happened. If you didn't see this, it was maybe one of the more beautiful things I've ever seen. It was pouring down rain. We were getting ready to start this race. And everyone kept saying, you watch, you watch. Right around Cameron's race time, right then, it's going to happen. Cameron's going to come out. Erin got the microphone. She began singing, and as she said, "Oh, say, can you see?" that sun burst through the clouds. The rain stopped. And for 3 hours, it was one of the most beautiful mornings you have ever seen. There was no question in my mind that was destined to happen. It's Cameron's voice coming through. Someone very special. Erin, thank you very much for being there to that event. It was good. You know, I need to write down all our family history because, man, I could give you a lot of great material. You know, Cameron called Child Protective Services on me. She stole my truck. We just found out this like 2 weeks ago. A wonderful lady that works at our house with us and helps us with our children came and said, her name is Lorraine. She said, "Mr. David, I have to tell you a story. I've been so upset. I wanted to tell you this story. When Cameron was 14, she told me she was 16 and she made me get in the car and we drove all around Richmond. And Cameron drove my truck, my Silverado, all around downtown Richmond at 14 years old. I mean, and that just, I mean, those are just a handful of the stories of living with someone that is so excitable and so passionate and so visual and so creative and so caring and so empathetic, had more love in her heart than this entire room could possibly absorb. One person could hold everything, I'm telling you. That was Cameron. It was her Zeta. It's Zeta, right? I'm getting the Zetas and the Bernies and yeah, that's right, and the Bubbies. And you said something very interesting. And you talked about the World War II with Zeta and how he suffered and how at that time in his life he had to be quiet. And you made a commitment to him because you were going to be his voice. And that's exactly what Cameron wanted to do. That's exactly what she lived. That's exactly what she stood for. And I can tell you, we have 5 wonderful children, and I am certain all of them will be successful and happy and rich and all the things that I'm sure our kids will be. But when Cameron was born, there was no doubt in my mind that she was destined to be something great. And those of you that knew Cameron know what I mean by that. It wasn't because she was brilliant. It wasn't because she was gorgeous. There was something agitated in her soul about righting the wrong, about standing for something that meant something, about caring for people that needed that help. And she would do anything in her power to do that, no matter what. No matter what. And to this day, that's exactly what this organization is. It's about speaking up for those that need it most. And like Erin said, if you've ever been to a mental health facility, especially if you're a teenage kid or you're a parent of a teenage kid, it's scary. It's cinder blocks. It's full of very well-dressed doctors who know a lot of things. And what do you think that feels like when you're 14 years old? It feels terrible. What do you think it feels like when you're a 40-year-old parent? You don't know. It's horrible. And we're going to be that bridge. We're going to be that gap. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to be able to fix mental health, but we're going to make it okay to talk. We're going to bring it out so that these kids know that it's not all right to treat the people suffering poorly. And we're going to be a voice for them. And of all the things that we've done, and all these wonderful things that Grace and Nanette and Ruthie and Melissa and all these wonderful people our board have done, let me tell you the one thing that we do well. Okay, we've created support groups and programs and mental health things that matter, and they're going to be in place so that the money that you contribute matters. But let me tell you what happens at every race that we have, every event that we go to, everything that we do that touches these teenage kids, 2, 3, 5, 1, 10, 15 teenage kids come to me and Grace and say, "Thank you. Thank you. You don't know what it means just to know that an organization exists that speaks for me. I wake up because you speak up. Let me tell you, I'll do this all day. I'll do it every day if that's all I ever do. And so all these things that we're doing to fundraise and bring awareness, let me tell you, at the end of the day, that's really the great effect of what we're having here. I can thank you for days. I hope you know that we love you. Grace, do you want to say something? Come on.
I like to hold on to things. My hands don't flare quite as much as David's. But first, another thank you to Erin. I met her, I don't know how many months ago, and the joy she brought to my life that day. Never met this person before. Never thought I'd be sitting in the same room. And that night I went home and I was talking to David about it. And, you know, it's those quiet moments of struggle that nobody talks about, nobody knows about, and even us, you know, we put on a really good front, but there's times that, you know, we're in our closets and we're crying, and we may be just look at each other and say, is this it? Is this what we have now? And the next morning was one of those moments for me. And I thought about you. And I thought about the celebration that she has for her family. And I thought about the word love. And love is a verb. It's action. And it's what we're here to do. And it doesn't matter if it's painful. It doesn't matter if it's happy. It's an action. And we celebrate the whole person. And we celebrate our whole family. And we look at the light and we look at the dark. And I promise you, in every dark moment, there is light. I promise you, if you are struggling, if someone you know is struggling, there is light. You just open your eyes and you open your heart to it. And my light that day was Erin. My light was that somebody else understands. Somebody else wants to put themselves out there and celebrate the whole person. And every single person in this room has a gift, has a talent, whether you believe it or not. And you use that gift and you use that talent to celebrate the whole person. Celebrate all of you, celebrate all of your family. Talk about it. Don't be ashamed. We are all beautifully made. And I can't thank you enough for being here. I hope that you walk away feeling excited and energized about life, because this isn't just about a 16-year-old girl that died. This is about a life that she lived. This is about a life she's living now, and how much better our lives are because of her, because of Erin, because of so many people in this room. So leave here tonight with a smile on your face and energized and ready to speak up for all those who are fighting the good fight, because everyone has some sort of struggle. So thank you so much for being here and being my daughter's voice.
All right, I'm going to try something, Erin. Can I try something? Okay, and then I promise to let everybody go. Can I get the band? These guys have no idea. But I've got a microphone, just a little beat. I'm going to sing a song that I sang to Cameron. Is that okay? Can I do it? I hope I remember the words. Grace, do you know the words? Let's just something. Let's see. I'll play it in. God, this is crazy. It just came to my head. I'm just a little black rain cloud hovering over the honey tree. I'm just a little black rain cloud, pay no attention to me. Everyone knows that a rain cloud never eats honey, no, not an imp. 'Cause I'm floating around over the clouds, wondering where I might drift. Winnie the Pooh, baby.
He's coming on the road with us. I won't keep you any longer. Please, please, please just leave here feeling happy and know that you were a part of something tonight. I love you all. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.